Let's start at the end. 2 weeks ago, my wife admitted she had an affair. She said it like she was talking about forgetting to pick up milk. At first, she said it happened twice. Then later, she said it never really happened, but she counted it anyway because she went with the intention, as if the difference made it any better. I remember staring at her, trying to process the words. She wasn't crying. She wasn't begging for forgiveness. She just said, "I messed up. I'm only human." And for a moment, I wondered if I even knew who she was anymore. But let me rewind, back to last October. I had gone to visit my parents for a weekend. It was supposed to be a nice break, a chance to catch up with family. We talked on the phone while I was away, just the usual things at first. But then one evening, her tone shifted. She rushed off the phone with a smile in her voice that didn't sound like the smile I knew. That night, she didn't answer my call. I texted her, "If you're awake, give me a call." Normally, she can never sleep. She would have replied. But this time, nothing. In the morning, she told me she went to bed early and slept through the night. Strange. Very strange. When I came home, something had changed. She was colder, distant. In our conversations, the word "we" was gone. It was suddenly all about I. I'm thinking about talking to a financial advisor. I'll figure out what to do next. It was like she had already started planning her future without me. That cut deeper than I can explain. The first night back, she stayed in bed all afternoon. I chalked it up to exhaustion, but it didn't feel right. The next evening, she tried to initiate intimacy. I couldn't perform, and it embarrassed me. I made sure she was satisfied, but inside I felt ashamed. The next day, I went to the doctor to check myself out. When I told her, she just said, "You know that's been driving a wedge between us?" I froze. I had no idea she felt that way. I thought we were fine. At least, I thought we were fine, until that moment. Over the days that followed, she became vague. She said she felt numb, that she couldn't put words to her feelings. I started noticing her on her phone more than usual, texting late at night, smiling at the screen in a way she hadn't smiled at me in months. I peeked once, just over her shoulder, and saw the name of an old high school boyfriend. I knew she kept in touch with him before, but this was different. She texted him constantly with that same little grin. I asked if anything was going on. She snapped back, "When would I even have time for an affair?" And the way she said it felt like too much, like an overreaction. Then came the first lie I could taste in my mouth. She said she was shopping for a dress in a town an hour away. She insisted on staying overnight at a hotel. That town just happened to be halfway between us and where he lived. I offered to drive her, and she blew up, asked me if I didn't trust her. When she got back, she barely looked me in the eyes. That night, she slept on the couch. Over the weeks, she told me her reasons for questioning our marriage. She said she carried the entire mental load of the house, that I never started projects, never planned ahead, that she was always the one who decided what got done. And maybe that was true. But then she added the second reason, our sex life. She wanted it every day, sometimes multiple times a day. I thought once a week was normal. She called it a wedge. I called it exhaustion. Suddenly, nights became divided. She'd sleep in the other room, or so far on her side of the bed I could barely feel her there. She kept texting him, and every time I saw her smile at her phone, I felt a little piece of myself crumble. I asked again if something was happening. She said, "I hope he was talking about his wife," when I pointed out a flirty text. Her tone was sharp, defensive. But then she flipped it on me, saying if I didn't trust her, we had nothing. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. But deep down, I already knew. The arguments became constant. Little things turned into wars. If I so much as looked at her phone, she would explode. She made it clear. Snooping was the ultimate betrayal. And yet, I couldn't ignore the gnawing in my gut. Her phone became a locked box I wasn't allowed to touch. That alone told me enough. One evening, she left her phone face up on the chair. I walked past, carrying her empty glass to the kitchen. And there it was. A message from him. I would start with cuddling. Her reply? That would be a good start, followed by kiss emojis. My stomach dropped through the floor. I wanted to scream, but I froze instead. When I finally asked her about it, she laughed. Said, he was having a bad day, he needed a hug. I told her that wasn't a normal thing to say to a friend. She got defensive. For hours, she flipped the story, accusing me of jealousy. By the end, I was apologizing. Apologizing for not trusting her. Apologizing for the pit in my stomach that wouldn't go away. Weeks passed, and she brought it up again. This time, I pressed harder. How does a conversation even start like that? She finally admitted it was inappropriate. She said she stopped it there, that she was ashamed. For a brief moment, I felt relief. But deep down, I knew it wasn't the whole truth. Our fights kept circling back to one theme, my jealous streak. She dug into old memories, dragging up moments from 15 years ago. She reminded me of a time when I checked her phone. Back then, I had found a message from another man. It read, "You were pretty good last night." Her response was, "We probably shouldn't do that anymore." I buried that memory for years, trying to convince myself it was nothing. Now she used it against me, saying I never trusted her. I reminded her that for years, I traveled constantly for work. I was away half the time, and I never once accused her of anything. I trusted her. At least I thought I did, but the pattern was clear. There had always been someone from the past, someone new, someone waiting in the wings. I started to feel like I was just the placeholder, the safe option, the one who paid the bills and fixed the car, while she chased excitement and secret messages. Nights became unbearable. We'd argue until midnight. She'd roll over with a heavy sigh, the kind of sigh that meant she was disappointed in me, and I'd cave just to make it stop. Sometimes we'd end up being intimate after these fights, but it wasn't closeness, it was desperation. I felt like she was trying to use sex to glue back together the cracks she had made, and I was too weak to resist. I started looking at apartments. I didn't tell her at first, but I needed air, a place that wasn't filled with suspicion. When she found out, she threw it in my face. Said, "Yeah, you're trying real hard to make this work, looking for apartments." I told her I wasn't giving up, but the truth was, I didn't know what I was doing anymore. 9 months passed like that. 9 months of walking on glass, of checking the garage door logs to see when she came and went, of analyzing every word, every sigh, every late-night text. And then one day, she finally said it. She admitted she had an affair. She didn't say it to confess. She said it like she was checking a box, like it wasn't a big deal. I asked her who it was with. She gave me a look. The look that told me I had been right all along. But even then, she twisted it. She said it was only once. Then later, twice. Then later still, not at all, just the intention. Every version chipped away at me. I didn't know which lie to believe, and maybe that was the point. If I couldn't pin it down, then maybe I'd just stop asking. After she admitted it, she clung tighter to me. She wanted to talk late into the night when I needed sleep. She pawed at me in bed, pulling me close when I wanted space. When I finally pushed her away one night, she said, "I never should have told you. I never should have said anything." Like the problem wasn't the affair itself, but the fact she confessed. She said if we split, it would destroy the family, that it would devastate the kids, even though they're all adults now. She said if we couldn't fix it, then maybe we were never as strong as she thought. She wanted me to promise we'd rebuild. But how do you rebuild a house when the foundation is cracked? I started therapy. Not for us. For me. Because I needed to breathe. She started seeing a therapist too, but her plan was for us to do couples counseling eventually. I couldn't. Not yet. I needed space first. I kept thinking about our history. 20 years together. 10 of them married. And yet through it all, I could trace the pattern. There was always someone else in the background. Always another man, always another secret. And I was the one left trying to glue myself back together each time. After her confession, the house no longer felt like home. Every wall seemed to echo her words. I walked from room to room wondering how many times she had texted him while I was sitting just a few feet away. The couch where she slept some nights now looked like evidence. The kitchen counter where she laughed at her phone now felt poisoned. I signed the lease on an apartment. It wouldn't be ready for a few weeks, but just knowing I had an exit gave me oxygen. When I told her, she said I was running away from our problems. Maybe I was. Or maybe I was running toward myself. She kept asking, "What are we going to tell the kids?" I didn't know how to answer. They're all adults. They deserve honesty. But I couldn't bear to shatter their image of us. So I said nothing. I let her fill the silence with excuses about irreconcilable differences. At night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. Sometimes she came into the room, trying to press against me, trying to force closeness. One night she whispered, "We can build something stronger than before." I didn't answer. Stronger? After everything? It felt like she wanted me to pretend. She started saying things that twisted my stomach. If we can't fix this, then maybe we were never strong. I wish I never told you. I never should have said anything. Each time it sounded less like remorse and more like regret that she got caught. I thought about all the years we had spent together. The vacations, the little rituals, the way she used to fall asleep with her head on my chest. I thought about her laugh, the one that used to make me feel invincible. And I asked myself, where did that woman go? Was she ever really here at all? I remembered the early years, when I caught her emailing another ex. She had written, "It felt good to be in your arms again." She swore nothing happened. I wanted to believe her back then, so I did. Now, looking back, I see the pattern. Always another man, always another secret. And me, always the fool who chose to forgive. I wondered if she ever saw me as more than a safety net, the comfortable pair of shoes she could always slip back into. She once told me part of my charm was being a free spirit. Now she said it was the thing that irritated her most. Maybe I was never enough. When the apartment finally opened up, I started packing. She cried when she saw the boxes, told me I was tearing the family apart, begged me to reconsider, but it felt like too little, too late. On the last night before I moved out, she crawled into bed beside me. She pressed her face into my back and whispered, "Please don't give up on me." And I wanted so badly to turn around, to hold her, to believe her, but I couldn't. Not anymore. Now I sit in an empty apartment with nothing but a mattress on the floor and silence all around me. For the first time in months, I can breathe. But breathing doesn't mean healing. The nights are still heavy. I still see her face every time I close my eyes. I still hear her laugh, her sighs, her excuses. I don't know if I'll ever forgive her. I don't know if I should. Part of me still loves her. Part of me always will. But love without trust is just a slow kind of death. So here I am. 20 years of history behind me, 10 years of marriage, and a future I can't even picture anymore. Maybe I'll go back. Maybe I'll stay away. Maybe I'll finally find out who I am without her shadow. I don't have the answers. All I have are questions. And maybe that's why I'm telling this story. Because I need to hear from someone else. What would you do? Would you try to rebuild? Or would you walk away for good?